Hi there, my name's Collette. I'm from New Zealand and this is one of my books that I created for adult colouring. This one's called the Vintage and Retro Adult Colouring Book, and it features a lot of designs that are from the vintage and retro scene, which I'm really into. We have the title page where you can pop your name in, show that it belongs to you. A bit about my book, about me, copyright information, that sort of thing. A vintage sewing machine. I love sewing, so of course I had to put something like that in there. Then we have some flowers. An old vintage dresser with like the full-on stripy wallpaper makes this one nice and busy, so it'll take a little bit longer to colour. Here we have a vintage hairdressing set. So you've got your mirror, your comb and your hairbrush. I own one of those. Here we have some vintage buttons. They were a lot more ornate back then. Well, we see some more like that now, but anyway, they make for some fun colouring. Some butterflies, roses, a maze. This one's based on a garden from the sort of vintage era. Here we have a flamingo, which is one of the iconic things of the retro scene here in New Zealand, even though we don't have flamingos. A vintage bike. Dame Edna glasses. If you haven't heard of Dame Edna, she was someone who was a drag queen, and she loved these really ornate glasses. Here we have a corset, which is all nice and flowery and pretty, and that looks really amazing when it's been coloured up. This is a 1920s lady. She's got like the beautiful ornate hat on that they wore back then. A vintage picnic set, a gramophone, and a mandala. I like mine to be a little bit different, so I always have pieces coming off mine. Here we have a pin-up girl. This is one of the favourite pages from the book, from what I can see of all the pages that people have been colouring. And here we have another vintage garden scene, so like it's like a maze, I guess. Another mandala. This is another pin-up in the mirror, so I've called that one Girl in the Mirror for obvious reasons. Here we have the rockabilly heart. This has got all the little icons that are popular in the rockabilly culture, the skulls, the dice, anchors, bows, that sort of thing. So it can be fun to do all sorts of different colours. Here we have the Hawaiian tiki. Tiki parties were very popular back in the 40s and 50s, and that's why that's part of the vintage culture. I think they're quite beautiful as well. These are vintage tools. I did a lot of study on those before I drew this page because I wanted a page that would be authentic in what it had content-wise. Another mandala and a sugar skull. I think they're actually quite beautiful for what their thing is. I mean, skulls are skulls, but these ones are always like more ornate and have flowers and a little bit more fun on them. A floral wreath and a vintage telephone. I'd love to own one like that. The VW combi van, that's more 1970s sort of style, but still in the vintage and retro sort of culture. A vintage Christmas tree, and I have one like that. Each year I decorate it up with the old type decorations. And then we have bonus pages. I like to pop bonus pages in so that you can see a little bit of other type of things that I do. So we have a jewellery box, some shoes and stockings, a vintage doily from the Doily Book 1, a dress, another doily, a 1920s dress, another doily. You'll see in my doily ones I always have a little bit of extra going on in there, so it could be a crochet hook or a needle or a reel of cotton. There's another 1950s dress. So I have a series of dress books. At the back of my books I like to put a page where you can scribble on it with your pens or pencils and just test them out to see, you know, like whether they go through. This book is created by CreateSpace, so the paper is on a sort of a medium weight. You would have noticed as I was turning the pages that each one is blank on the back. That's so you don't have issues with things going through. I do suggest that you use a piece of cardstock when you're putting anything, or when you're colouring in. You pop it between the page and voila, you don't have issues with anything going through to the next page. So anyway, that is my book.